Okay, so I am still signed off, still in a lot of pain, which means I've been able to watch another drama in full. This time it was Sword and Fairy 6, so not 4, but 6. Um, and I watched it on the iQIYI app. There are 36 episodes, and with ending credits and opening credits, it's about 42 and a bit minutes long, so relatively short episodes. Now, just saying names can take me into spoiler territory, so we're not going to say who they're playing, but his leading lady was played by Yu Shujin. This is another Zanzia, but with more of a wuxia feel to it. And although it is Sword and Fairy, it is a different story to Sword and Fairy 4 that I've just reviewed recently. But as before, let's start with the stuff I didn't like about this. Well, let's start with the voice acting. So again, many times they use different voice actors to the actual physical actors. And whoever they got to do the voice acting in place of Yu Shujin was very grating. Um, a lot of the times, especially the female characters, they do start sounding very, very young, and then they sort of mature and they lower their voices by the end of it to show that maturity. That never happened in this. She sounded like a little boy the whole way through, and it was just quite grating. Next big problem I had with this show was the story itself. There were a lot of plot holes. Now I know this because it's Anzia, it's high fantasy, but at the same time, there still needs to be some kind of sense out of the fantasy. Otherwise, it kind of takes you out of it because you're just thinking, well, if that's that, then how does that work? Every fantasy world has its rules and so on, and sometimes you have to bear that in mind. Another issue I had with this is the main characters just know what they need to know. There's not really any training. They just know. Um, and there are things that they are supposed to have figured out as they go, but there's not really anything showing them figuring this out. They just kind of stumble across it by luck, which kind of is quite sad because I found Sword and Fairy 4 a little bit meh for the story, but at least the story made sense. Lastly, the characters. So the characters as a whole weren't too bad. They had their own reasons for doing things, likes, interests, and so on. Um, but, and this is a big but, they didn't really develop them, and that's part of a story thing as well. Um, and there were certain characters that sort of started off one way and were supposed to be going another way, but they didn't really show it. We were just told that that was happening. You don't tell, you have to show. And there wasn't really anything until close to the end that was happening. And there were certain things that characters did that didn't seem to go with the characters that had been built up. As a result, you didn't really sort of get to really love these characters. So while I got teary at one point, when things happened to characters, I wasn't invested, and that was really sad because I'm a massive Shukai fan. I really like the guy. I like his acting and I like most of the stuff he's in. One of my favorite dramas is The Legends. But now I've sort of torn it apart. We will mention some stuff we like. The CGI, while not as good as Sword and Fairy 4, was quite nice and aesthetically pleasing to look at. There was some really nice designs, and so on. I felt the magic could have been depicted a bit better. I kind of wish I'd watched this first and 4 second. But that's just how it went. The acting as a whole was quite good. You had quite a good pool of actors from differing levels. Obviously, Shikai's quite a well-known actor. We had a guy who I haven't seen in anything for a while, at least not where I've noticed him. His name is Fujinbo, um, and he played quite a good character in this. It was an interesting character to watch. Again, I felt he didn't have much to work with. I felt none of the actors had much to work with. But I did like to see quite a plethora of actors that I hadn't seen before, mixed in with actors that I had seen. The action in the drama was relatively good. The only complaint I'd have about it is Yu Shijin, in her role. Being the leading lady, I would have liked to have seen her look a little less awkward when she's supposed to be the character she's supposed to be. But the fight choreography was relatively good. Shukai, as always, was, he always looked cool, which is the aim of the game when you're doing martial arts and they're the hero. So while it wasn't the best, it was sort of something that kept me watching, at least. Before I move on to the conclusion, which I have tried to record at least 8 times now, comment "I love C-dramas" in the comments to let me know that you've made it this far in the video. Because you is special. And thank you. But here's for my conclusion. Do I like the show and would I recommend it? I don't hate the show. I don't really have any feeling on it. I think the issues outweigh the pros of this show. So I definitely won't watch it again, unfortunately. But if you're a diehard Jukai fan, it's on the same kind of feel as Dance of the Sky Empire and Once Upon a Time in Lingjian Mountain. So it could be worth a watch for you, but I think it's going to leave some watchers being a bit bored. There were a couple of times where my mind even wandered. But what did you guys think? Did you like the show, or do you agree with me? And there were a few issues with the show. Was there anything about the show that really annoyed you? Um, Feel free to discuss in the comments. Keep it nice. Till next time, toodles!